I stood at my sister's funeral, staring at her casket, and all I could feel was rage. Not grief, not sadness, just pure, burning rage. Because 5 years ago, she destroyed my life. She stole my fiancé on my wedding day, and I made sure she paid for it. I married him instead. I took everything she ever wanted. But here's the thing nobody tells you about revenge. Karma doesn't care who started it, and what came next, it destroyed us all. My name is Elena Rivera, and this is the true story of how I ruined my own life trying to ruin hers. But before I tell you how everything fell apart, subscribe to this channel right now, because every single week we bring you real family drama stories, revenge stories, and true tales that will shock you to your core. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Now, let me take you back to where it all began, the day that changed everything, my wedding day. 5 years ago, I was 27 years old, living what I thought was a perfect life. I had everything planned out. I was marrying David Chen, the man I'd been with for 4 years. Successful corporate lawyer, charming, ambitious, and madly in love with me. Or so I thought. My younger sister, Claire, was my maid of honor. We'd always been close growing up. She was 23, fresh out of college, working as a marketing coordinator, still figuring out her life. I was the responsible older sister, the one who had it all together, the one she looked up to. The wedding was supposed to be at the Grand Meridian Hotel downtown. 300 guests, flowers imported from Ecuador, a 7-tier cake. My dress alone cost $12,000. David and I had spent 18 months planning every single detail. The morning of the wedding, I woke up at 5 a.m. in the bridal suite. My mother, Patricia, was already there with the hair and makeup team. She kept fussing over every little thing, making sure everything was absolutely perfect. She'd always been like that, controlling, obsessed with appearances, with what people thought of our family. "Elena, darling, you need to eat something," she said, holding out a croissant. "You're going to faint at the altar." I couldn't eat. My stomach was in knots. Not from nerves, though. Something felt off. I couldn't explain it then, but looking back, I think some part of me already knew. Claire had been acting strange for weeks, distant, avoiding my calls. Whenever I asked her about the bachelorette party or the rehearsal dinner, she gave short, clipped answers. I told myself she was just stressed about her job, about being maid of honor, about the responsibility. I was so naive. At noon, with 4 hours until the ceremony, Claire still hadn't arrived at the bridal suite. I called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. I called again, and again. Nothing. "Elena, where's Claire?" I asked, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. "I'm sure she's just running late, sweetheart. You know how she is." But I didn't know, not anymore. The Claire I thought I knew would never be late for my wedding day. At 1 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Claire. "I'm so sorry, Elena. I can't do this. I can't be there today." My hands started shaking. I called her immediately. This time, she answered. "Claire, what's going on? Are you okay? Are you hurt?" There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end, and then she said the words that shattered my entire world. "I'm in love with David." The room started spinning. I grabbed the edge of the vanity table to steady myself. "What did you just say?" "I'm in love with David, and he's in love with me. We've been seeing each other for 8 months, Elena. We tried to stop, we really did, but we can't. I'm so sorry." 8 months. They'd been together for 8 months, while I was planning my wedding, while I was choosing flowers and tasting cakes and addressing invitations, while I was calling her every night to share wedding updates, to ask her opinion on centerpieces and processional songs. She was sleeping with my fiancé. "Where are you?" I whispered. Another pause. "I'm with David. We're at the airport. We're leaving, Elena. We can't go through with the wedding. It wouldn't be fair to you." How noble of them. How incredibly considerate. I hung up the phone. My mother was staring at me with wide eyes. She'd heard everything. "Elena, what?" "The wedding's off," I said, my voice hollow. "David and Claire are together. They're at the airport right now." My mother's face went white, then red. Then she started pacing, her hands clutching her pearls. "This is a disaster. We have 300 guests arriving in 3 hours. The vendors, the deposits. Elena, we need to—" "Mom, stop." I'd never yelled at her like that before. She froze, staring at me like I'd slapped her. I don't remember much of what happened next. It's all a blur of phone calls and crying and people rushing in and out of the bridal suite. My father, Thomas, arrived, my bridesmaids, David's groomsmen, all confused and shocked. The wedding planner frantically trying to contact guests and cancel vendors. They found David's wedding ring on the dresser in his hotel room with a note that said, "I'm sorry, I love her." That was it. 4 years together, and that's all I got. 6 words. The worst part? Everyone knew. Within hours, everyone in our entire social circle knew that my sister had run off with my fiancé on my wedding day. The humiliation was suffocating. I couldn't leave my apartment without people staring at me, whispering, pitying me. My mother was devastated, not because I was heartbroken, but because of what people would say, what people would think. She kept saying, "How could Claire do this to our family? How could she embarrass us this way?" My father just looked tired. He'd always favored Claire. She was his baby girl, his little princess. Even after what she'd done, I could see him making excuses for her in his mind. "She's young, she made a mistake, she'll realize eventually." But I wasn't thinking about forgiveness. I wasn't thinking about moving on or healing or any of that therapeutic nonsense people kept telling me about. I was thinking about revenge.
3 months after the wedding that never happened, I was living alone in a small apartment across town. I'd quit my job as a financial analyst at my father's firm. I couldn't stand seeing him every day, knowing he still talked to Claire on the phone, knowing he'd already started forgiving her. I lost 20 pounds, stopped sleeping, stopped caring about anything except the burning need to make them suffer the way they'd made me suffer. Claire and David had moved to Seattle. They'd gotten married in a courthouse ceremony 2 months after my ruined wedding. No big celebration, no family, just the 2 of them and 2 witnesses they pulled off the street. My mother refused to speak to Claire. My father sent her money anyway. I spent hours scrolling through Claire's social media, torturing myself with photos of their new life. Her laughing in David's arms, them hiking in the mountains, cooking dinner together, living the life that was supposed to be mine. That's when I started planning. I wasn't going to let them be happy. I wasn't going to let them get away with this. But how do you destroy someone who's already taken everything from you? How do you hurt someone who doesn't care that they hurt you? Then, one night, scrolling through old photos on my laptop, I found it. The answer. A photo from Claire's 21st birthday party. She was standing next to Marcus Webb, David's business partner and best friend. They were laughing, his arm around her shoulders. I remembered that night. Claire had gotten drunk and confessed to me that she thought Marcus was gorgeous, that if she ever got married, she wanted to marry someone exactly like him. Marcus, successful, handsome, charming, and most importantly, David's best friend and business partner. If I could get Marcus to fall in love with me, if I could marry him, I'd be in David's life forever. I'd be at every business dinner, every holiday gathering, every company event. Claire would have to see me with David's best friend, living the successful, beautiful life she thought she'd taken from me. And slowly, carefully, I'd destroy their relationship from the inside. It was perfect. I spent the next 2 months transforming myself. I lost more weight, but this time healthily, with a trainer and a nutritionist. I changed my hair, my wardrobe, my entire appearance. I took public speaking classes to boost my confidence. I rejoined the gym David and Marcus belonged to. And I waited. It took 3 weeks before I accidentally ran into Marcus at the gym. He was shocked to see me, concerned. He'd heard about the wedding, of course. Everyone had. Elena, my God, I'm so sorry about what happened. I had no idea David was... It's fine, I said with a practiced smile. Really, I'm actually doing much better now. It was for the best. If David was capable of doing something like that, I'm glad I found out before we got married. Marcus seemed impressed by my maturity, my grace. He had no idea it was all an act. We started talking. I made sure to run into him at the gym twice a week. Then I suggested coffee. Then lunch. I was careful, patient. I didn't push too hard. I let him think he was pursuing me. Within 2 months, we were dating. Marcus was actually nice, kind, thoughtful. He took me to art galleries and poetry readings. He cooked me dinner and asked about my day, and seemed genuinely interested in my thoughts and feelings. He was everything David had pretended to be, and I felt absolutely nothing for him. But I was good at pretending. I'd been pretending my whole life, pretending to be the perfect daughter for my mother, the perfect sister for Claire, the perfect fiancée for David. What was one more performance? 6 months after we started dating, Marcus proposed. We were on a beach in Malibu, watching the sunset. He got down on one knee, pulled out a ring, and told me I was the most amazing woman he'd ever met. You've brought so much light back into my life. After everything you've been through, your strength, your grace, Elena, I love you. Will you marry me? I said yes, and then I called Claire. She answered on the 4th ring. We hadn't spoken since her text on my wedding day. Hello? Hi, Claire. I just wanted to let you know that I'm engaged to Marcus Webb. We're getting married in 6 months, and since Marcus and David are business partners, I assume we'll be seeing each other a lot. I hope that won't be uncomfortable for you. Silence. Elena, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just thought you should know. See you at the wedding. I hung up before she could respond. Phase 1 was complete. Now the real revenge could begin. Marcus and I got married in a ceremony that made my canceled wedding look modest. 400 guests, a 15-piece orchestra, fireworks. My mother was in heaven, finally getting the society wedding she'd always wanted. She didn't care that I was marrying Marcus for all the wrong reasons. She cared that everyone could see the Rivera family was still powerful, still respectable, still perfect. David and Claire didn't come to the wedding. They sent a gift, a crystal vase with a note that said, "Wishing you all the happiness." I smashed it the day it arrived. But they couldn't avoid me long. Marcus and David co-owned a commercial real estate development firm. They had meetings 3 times a week, company dinners once a month, and now I was Marcus's wife. I had every right to be there. The first company dinner after our honeymoon, I made sure I looked absolutely stunning. Red dress, perfect makeup, diamond earrings Marcus had given me. When we walked into the restaurant and I saw David's face, the shock and discomfort, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Claire looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Elena," David said stiffly, "congratulations on your marriage." "Thank you, David," I replied sweetly. "Claire, you look well. Marriage suits you." She couldn't even meet my eyes. Throughout dinner, I made sure to laugh at Marcus's jokes, touch his arm affectionately, play the role of the blissfully happy newlywed. I caught David watching me several times with an expression I couldn't quite read. Regret? Guilt? Jealousy? Good. Let him wonder. Let him question his choice. Over the next year, I perfected the art of subtle psychological warfare. I never said anything overtly cruel or aggressive. I was always polite, always gracious, but I made sure they knew I was there, always there, in their lives, watching them. I befriended Claire's new friends and slowly poisoned them against her with carefully worded comments. "Oh, Claire didn't tell you about her previous engagement? How interesting." I made sure people knew her history, that she was the woman who stole her sister's fiancé. I encouraged Marcus to take bigger risks in business, knowing it would stress David's more conservative approach. I created tension between them without ever seeming to do so. At family gatherings, which Claire eventually started attending again at my father's insistence, I was the picture of forgiveness. I hugged her. I asked about her life. I smiled. And then I'd make small comments that cut like knives. "That dress is lovely, Claire. David bought you that? How generous. He never spent that much on me." She started looking thinner, tired. David became more withdrawn. Their marriage was showing cracks, and I reveled in it. But here's what I didn't see coming. Here's what my rage and my obsession with revenge blinded me completely to. I was destroying myself, too. Marcus started noticing things. The way I'd tense up whenever David's name was mentioned. The way I'd obsessively check Clara's social media. The way I'd pick fights after we saw them at company events. "Elena," he said one night, 2 years into our marriage, "why did you really marry me?" "What are you talking about? I married you because I love you." "No, you don't. You've never loved me. I've known it from the beginning, but I kept hoping you'd eventually feel something real for me. But you don't. This is all about David and Claire, isn't it?" I should have lied. I should have denied it. Instead, I just stared at him. "My God," he whispered, "I've been a pawn in your revenge plan this entire time." "Elena, that's not—" Don't insult me with more lies. I've been blind, but I'm not stupid. Every dinner, every interaction with them, you're performing. You're not happy. You're just obsessed." He moved into the guest bedroom that night. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself that my plan was working. Claire and David were miserable. That's what mattered. But then, 3 months later, something that I never could have anticipated happened. Claire got pregnant. When my mother told me the news, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. A baby. They were having a baby. The family I was supposed to have. The life I was supposed to live.
My revenge suddenly felt hollow. What was the point of making them miserable if they were about to have a child together, if they were about to become a real family? I spiraled, started drinking more, sleeping less. Marcus and I barely spoke anymore. He'd tried to file for divorce twice, but I convinced him to stay, promised I'd change, promised I'd go to therapy. I couldn't let him leave. If he left, my whole plan fell apart. But I wasn't going to therapy. I was getting worse. Then, when Claire was 7 months pregnant, something happened that changed everything. She called me in the middle of the night, crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Elena, please, I need help. I'm bleeding. David's out of town. I'm scared, please." Every instinct in my body screamed to hang up, to let her suffer, to let karma finally deliver the justice I'd been waiting for. But I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe some small part of me still remembered the little sister who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, who used to braid my hair and tell me I was her hero. I drove to her house at 2 in the morning and took her to the hospital. She was having complications, preeclampsia, high blood pressure. The baby was in distress. I sat in that hospital waiting room for 6 hours while they did emergency tests and monitoring, and for the first time in 5 years, I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was just praying that my sister and her baby would be okay. They stabilized her. The baby was fine. When David arrived at the hospital, he found me sitting next to Claire's bed, holding her hand. He stopped in the doorway, staring at us. "Elena saved us," Claire whispered. "If she hadn't brought me here." David looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, genuine gratitude, and something else, shame. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Thank you for being there when I wasn't." I left the hospital feeling more confused than I'd ever been in my life. Claire's daughter, Sophia, was born 6 weeks later, a healthy, beautiful baby girl with Claire's eyes and David's smile. My mother was ecstatic. She threw a lavish baby shower, invited everyone in her social circle, and acted like nothing had ever been wrong with our family, like the past 5 years hadn't happened, like we were all just one big happy family now. I didn't go to the baby shower. I couldn't. But the birth of Sophia triggered something in me. Looking at photos of my sister with her new baby, I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt empty, exhausted, like I'd been running a marathon for 5 years and suddenly realized I was running in circles. Marcus filed for divorce again. This time, I didn't stop him. I hope you find peace, Elena. I really do, because this anger is consuming you, and someday you're gonna wake up and realize you wasted years of your life on people who've moved on. He was right. Of course he was right. But I couldn't stop. Not yet. Not when I was this close to what? What was I even trying to accomplish anymore? That's when my father had his heart attack. He collapsed at his office on a Tuesday morning. By the time they got him to the hospital, he'd been without oxygen for several minutes. He survived, but the doctors said he needed to reduce stress, change his lifestyle, spend more time with family. The family that I'd been systematically destroying for half a decade. My mother called a family meeting. Me, Claire, David, and her. We sat in my parents' living room, the same room where we used to open Christmas presents and play board games when we were kids. "This needs to stop," my mother said, her voice cracking. "Your father's heart attack was a warning. The doctor said stress was a major factor, and this family, what we've become, it's killing him. It's killing all of us." Claire was crying. "I know I hurt you, Elena. I know what I did was unforgivable. I've had to live with that guilt every single day for 5 years. Every time I look at David, I remember what we did to you, how we betrayed you. But I can't keep apologizing. I can't keep punishing myself forever." "Nobody's asking you to punish yourself," I said coldly. "Aren't you?" She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "Every company dinner, every family gathering, every time you look at me, I feel it. Your hatred, your judgment. And maybe I deserve it. Maybe I deserve all of it. But my daughter doesn't. And our father doesn't." David spoke up for the first time. "Elena, I've wanted to talk to you about this for years. What we did was wrong, inexcusable. I was a coward. I should have ended our engagement the moment I realized I had feelings for Claire. Instead, I let it go on. I hurt you in the worst possible way, and I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I am genuinely sorry." I wanted to scream at them, to tell them their apologies meant nothing, that sorry doesn't undo 5 years of humiliation and pain and rage. But then my mother said something that broke through all my anger. "Elena, you've spent 5 years punishing Claire and David, but you've also spent 5 years punishing yourself. You married a good man you didn't love. You turned yourself into someone I barely recognize. You've isolated yourself from everyone who cares about you. When does it end? When do you finally let yourself be happy?" I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came out. Because she was right. I'd been so focused on revenge that I'd forgotten how to live. I'd forgotten who I was before that wedding day, before the betrayal, before the rage consumed everything else. I left my parents' house without saying anything, drove home, sat in my empty apartment that used to be mine and Marcus's, and I cried. For the first time in 5 years, I let myself really cry, not tears of anger or frustration, but tears of grief for the life I'd lost, the person I used to be, the 5 years I'd wasted on hatred. 2 months after that family meeting, I started therapy, real therapy, not the fake sessions I'd pretended to attend to keep Marcus from leaving earlier. Dr. Sarah Chen was patient and direct. She didn't let me hide behind my victim story or my justifications. What Claire and David did was a betrayal, that's a fact. But Elena, you've taken that betrayal and turned it into your entire identity. You're not Elena Rivera anymore. You're the woman whose sister stole her fiancé. Is that really who you want to be? No, it wasn't. But I didn't know how to be anyone else anymore. The real turning point came 4 months into therapy. Claire called me, her voice shaking. "Elena, I need to tell you something. I'm sick. I have stage 3 breast cancer. I start chemotherapy next week." The world stopped. "What?" "She found a lump 2 months ago. I didn't want to worry anyone until I knew for sure. The cancer has spread to my lymph nodes. The doctors are optimistic, but—" She didn't finish the sentence. "Does Mom know?" "I'm telling her today. I wanted to tell you first." "Why?"
Because despite everything, you're still my sister, and when I thought about who I needed to hear this from me, you were the first person I thought of. I went to see her that afternoon. She looked so small sitting on her couch with Sophia sleeping in her arms, so fragile. I'm scared, she admitted. Not for me, for Sophia. She's only 6 months old. What if— Don't, I interrupted. Don't think like that. You're going to beat this. You don't know that. No, but I'm choosing to believe it. She looked at me with surprise. Thank you. I visited her every week during her chemotherapy. I held her hand when she got sick. I helped take care of Sophia when Claire was too weak to get out of bed. I watched her lose her hair, her strength, her hope. And somewhere in those long hospital visits and quiet afternoons, I started to remember why I'd loved her in the first place. My little sister, the girl who used to follow me around everywhere, who thought I hung the moon. She'd made a terrible mistake. She'd hurt me deeply, but she was still my sister. Claire finished her chemotherapy after 6 months. The cancer went into remission. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. The night she rang the bell at the cancer center, signaling the end of her treatment, we all celebrated. My parents, David, baby Sophia, and me. It was the first time in 5 years that our family felt like a family again.
But karma, as I said in the beginning, doesn't care who started it. 2 months after Claire finished her chemotherapy, she was driving home from her follow-up appointment when a drunk driver ran a red light. She died instantly. Now I'm standing at her funeral, looking at her casket, and all I can feel is regret. Not rage, not vindication, just crushing, overwhelming regret. I wasted 5 years hating her. 5 years I could have spent being her sister, building a relationship with my niece, forgiving, healing, moving forward. Instead, I chose revenge, and revenge took everything. My marriage to Marcus is over. He remarried last year to someone who actually loves him. They're expecting their first child. David is raising Sophia alone now. He's a good father, devoted, present. He quit his job to be with her full-time. He and I talk occasionally, not friends, but not enemies either. Just 2 people bound by our love for Claire and our shared guilt. Because we both know we could have done things differently. He could have been honest from the beginning. I could have chosen forgiveness over vengeance. But we didn't, and now Claire is gone. My therapist keeps telling me that I can't change the past, that I can only control how I move forward, that forgiveness is possible, even forgiveness for myself. Some days I believe her, most days I don't. But I'm trying. I'm building a relationship with Sophia. I'm there for David when he needs support. I've reconciled with my parents. I'm learning how to be Elena Rivera again, not the woman whose life was defined by betrayal and revenge. If you're watching this and you're holding on to anger, onto plans for revenge, onto years-old grudges, please learn from my mistake. Life is too short, too fragile, too precious to waste on hatred. Claire made a terrible choice, but she was still a human being, still my sister, still someone worthy of love and forgiveness. And I'll spend the rest of my life wishing I'd realized that 5 years sooner. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below telling me about your own experiences with forgiveness, revenge, or family drama. Every week, we share true stories that explore the complex, messy, beautiful reality of human relationships, stories that remind us we're not alone in our struggles. Thank you for watching, and remember, revenge might feel good in the moment, but forgiveness is the only thing that truly sets you free.